Hello and welcome back to Man v Film. I've been pondering a lot about the boutique labels and more precisely, have we passed the golden age of the Blu-ray boutiques? Has it something that's already eked us by, and like most fads or ages or times, whatever, you don't realise how good you had it until that time has finally passed. For the last few years, decade or so, we've had wonderful boutique releases, throwing out classic movies that we always wanted, lost, forgotten gems, and wonderful transfers and editions that are lavish with extras, with supplemental material, with commentaries, booklets, cards, posters. The packaging is something that's truly wonderful. We've been spoiled. As collectors, we have truly been spoiled. It's been a way the market has been going, looking at these releases, that they know they're going to get that ravenous purchase from the boutique collectors. But things, as always, come to an end, naturally. And I'm looking at a lot of the Blu-ray boutique labels and wondering, how many more classics can they dig up? How many more forgotten gems are there realistically out there? Now, I understand that not every movie's for me, but every label is starting to have little chinks in the armour, little blemishes on their score sheet, so to speak. You know, they release, like, just picking out the blue, Arrow releasing Death Screams, one of the worst slashers I've ever seen. And from somebody that's extremely forgiving on slasher movies, that's a lot for me to say, but I'm starting to see this with other companies. The release of titles that I've never heard of, the lack of the fervour, the talk, the chatter about releases is becoming less and less. The boutique community as a whole seems to be something that's becoming very toxic, more and more. You know, it feels as if we've had our really golden age of boutiques, and now we're somewhere in the in-between. Now we're somewhere where the boutiques, which are businesses, are becoming more business savvy and chasing after what the collectors really want. Pointless steelbooks, limited editions that don't offer much more and don't really need to be limited editions of certain movies. We feel as if we're getting to an apex, a point where, you know, once you get to the highs, there's going to be lows, and I feel that it's coming very much in the form of limited editions of movies that are getting the kind of treatment that I'm not entirely sure movies really deserve. Again, I'm not picking an arrow, it's just something that pops into my head straight away. Phantom of the Mall, great movie, great late 80s horror film, nothing out of the ordinary, but it gets a release that I don't really know that movie required. You know, it's a little bit extra, and you know, if you didn't get the limited edition and you're waiting in the standard edition, you're not really losing out in a lot. And I doubt there's that many hardened fans of that movie out there that were clambering to get hold of a limited edition of it. You know, it just makes me wonder where the market's going to go now. Where are the boutique labels going to go? Now there is competition. There are more predators in the water hunting down for those precious licenses that something's got to give. Are we going to see editions of movies that just, you know, don't quite cut the mustard, but they're praised and they're given editions that they don't deserve to get our money? Because they're going to have to get our money one way or another. Rising costs, we've seen that happening because there's more competition for people getting these movies. The costs are going through the roof, and that's something that's really starting to take its toll. As a boutique fan, I love the lavish attention they put towards these releases, the transfers, the extras, the commentaries. For me, the most important thing is always the movie, highlighting a movie that I may have missed. And I know there's countless movies out there, but ultimately, at one point, we're going to kind of scrape the cream off the top, and what we're going to be left with is going to be lesser. We're going to be pushed onto us because of our love of boutiques are because of our passion for discovering older movies. I'm a little bit worried that the dam is going to break on this one. The golden age has definitely passed, and that we're now moving into a time of uncertainty where we really need to know where the market's going to go next. 4K is definitely something that's there to be grabbed. You know, I've got a few 4K movies myself of boutique labels of titles that aren't as well known, and I really quite enjoy them. But again, I'm not going to buy every 4K that comes out. I'm not as interested in that. I feel myself really waning on the form of limited editions. Unless it's a movie that I'm dying to see, I'm starting to think, should I get that? Is it something I need to get? Should I wait and play the waiting game? You know, take for instance June. I wasn't overly enamoured with that one, but I ended up picking it up at a much more attractive price point in a sort of Black Friday sale, which was more agreeable to me. The rising costs and the declining quality of movies being released on Blu-ray is something that really has me just a little bit wary of the future. I hope it's going to continue. I hope there's going to be a revival and amazing lost films coming to the forefront. It really inspired me in 2022 to go and get them and pick them up, rather than just treading old water, releasing titles that once were out there in DVDs that are now be given Blu-ray treatment, even though there is now 4K out there. It feels as if we've just going from one format to another format that's becoming a little bit outdated, and we still have that future format to be tackled. I think there's companies out there that are doing some really interesting work. I think there's some grounds and some countries where movies need to be harvested a little bit more, and we're starting to see that with some of the companies. But for me just now, as a boutique collector, as someone who loves that kind of meticulous nature that these companies put onto these releases, I am a little bit worried, a little bit trepidatious of what may come. I will always be an optimist. I always hope for the best, but there's a little voice in the back of my head going, did we miss the realisation that we were already living through an amazing time by constantly looking forward and never taking time to look at what we have just now? I'd love to know your thoughts on what you think about the upcoming Blu-ray releases, or where the companies can go from here. How do they keep the titles fresh? What kind of titles do they need? What movies should be released in Blu-ray? If you have a list, let me know. But you're really still waiting on. As always, there's other content up here. You can check more of my stuff if you're interested. If you think I deserve it, hit this video with a like. And if you really love these videos, I'd appreciate it if you join the Patreon or the membership program and let me know, and I'll see if I can get more of this content out to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Man v Film.